Well, hello there, and welcome back to Good in the Middle Way. I'm your host Rob, and I'm so happy that you're here. Welcome back. How have you been? I'm hoping this finds you well. Today we're going to be starting a series on the Four Noble Truths, which we'll follow with the Eightfold Path. I think it's about time that we start to address these things on the middle way and try to show you what they have to offer. Now, the Buddha taught these in order, and the first noble truth is about suffering. Now, we might think we know suffering and everything that definition could be and have to offer, but the Buddha is very specific in addressing these three major types of suffering that you may not have heard of and may not have, experienced before. Well, rather, you've experienced them, but you may not be fully aware of how you can dissect them and separate them into these different acknowledgments. And so the word for suffering that in this noble truth was dukkha. And you could look up many different translations and explanations because it's often translated in English as suffering, but it also has some other definitions and meaning. It's not just suffering. But for our lesson today, that's what we'll focus on. And so the first part of suffering, and it's the major part of suffering that we all identify with easily, is this physical suffering, this gross level, all-encompassing pain and all things physical. To acknowledge this and that life is suffering and life contains suffering doesn't feel that hard. Though it can be a bit dejecting and get us a bit depressed, right? Like, all this life is suffering, suffering, suffering. But that's why we go through all these things to the Eightfold Path that will, help show us a way out of this endless suffering. And so number two is the suffering of change. And this one we could spend a lot of time with. The suffering of change is one that most people are not aware of often, and part of the whole problem with suffering, there is no escape in what the Buddhists call samsara, which is the reality that we're living in. They say it's cyclic, we are reborn into it again and again, and there's no true satisfaction in samsara. Samsara is, while there are pleasures and there are, wonderful, beautiful things to be enjoyed and had, that they too have suffering in them. And we could really pause, look at our lives, look at our experiences, and we could start to see this connection that even the good moments come with this sense of loss. There's many beautiful quotes all around the world, and from stories to advice, but we could think about, to have something or someone to love is also knowing the pain that we might lose them. And this is part of the suffering of change, as well as within ourselves with aging, right? Like the Buddha will address early on, there's aging, sickness, and death. There's no debating that, right? Like we all experience this to hopefully live long lives and go through all these processes, but these are truths of our existence and our human bodies. So there's this suffering, not just of the aches and pains of aging, but I'm sure you've met somebody in your life who, if it's not ourselves, that is even too, who's having trouble with their age, having trouble getting older. They look at themselves in the mirror and, I was once so young and beautiful, or I was once so handsome and strong, or I was, once so handsome and beautiful or something, it's all whatever you were into. There's this acknowledgement of, this me, this conventional me that we've been talking about is aging and it's changing. And there comes with that a sadness. There's often a sadness first to aging. Most people are not engaging the positive of, I'm so happy I've got to be this age and not everyone gets to be this. So even with its aches and pains, I can be grateful to be here. And that's actually true for young and old. It's not a guarantee. So this suffering of change, though, is really, really important. And it really, I was going to say like infiltrates, but it's more like connected. It's interwoven in such a way with everything that is both good and bad. It's the even if we eventually get away from these qualifiers, like these experiences where the bad ones, yeah, you want them to change. And maybe there doesn't feel as much suffering for that. But we've all been, say, like you were young and you went to your favorite theme park, or everyone's kind of had this day where like everything just went right and they were really happy, right? You can think of that one for you, like what is it for you? And what comes to mind when I bring this up for you? And how you wanted that moment to last forever. You know, you were there, you had arrived, it was perfect, you know, you never felt more happiness. You know, maybe it was a situation. I know some people have definitely found this in substances, right? And then it eventually leads them to self-harm in the way of overindulging these things and sometimes ruining their lives or losing their lives, right? We can't ignore those facts, but there was a state of bliss, a state of release or peace. It's people can maybe find it in a spa, let's say. You know, everyone has their thing. And to have that thing and to have such a recognition of, you know, the summit, the peak of positive enjoyment and delight, and then we see it slipping away, fading away, slowly or quickly, and we want to get it back. We want to go back to it. And some people will chase that high and that feeling forever, at least in this life, you know, and they'll just continue on and on and on, trying to reclaim the glory days, right? That was one I heard a lot growing up, as we would hear fathers or uncles or people in town who, you know, they used to feel that they were somebody when they, you know, scored the winning touchdown at the football game in the local town. And it's quite a beautiful little story for them to have their moment, but you could also see for some people, you know, and maybe that is somebody watching right now that's, you know, oh, I've longed for that day when I felt that way, and I felt whole and I felt validated, and it was that moment, and every day since I've been trying to get back to it. And so the suffering of change is inescapable, and that in samsara there is no true perfection, too perfect relief of this like totally positive experience. There's just no place where it's all just good, because to be in that place and to recognize that will one day change, leave, go, even with loved ones, right? Wonderful partners, somebody dies on somebody, you know, and that's just how it is. And so examining this within your own life and yourself, it's not to get you down. You know, it actually could be a really helpful tool for you to enjoy and savor the moments that are good and beneficial and all these different things, as we also address the negatives and how they will change, and working on our mindset to find the middle way here. But to also recognize this so that we don't get too fixated on like, oh, I want to be in this totally blissed out state. I want to be happy all the time. I want to, you know, live in this paradise that is free of suffering. And the truth is that nothing in samsara is free of suffering and free of change. Everything is changing moment by moment, all around the universe, in their positions, from the atoms to the quarks and quasars, and it's all just moving and changing, and energy is just flowing, and it is what a beautiful cosmic dance in a way. But our minds are longing for that solidity, the same way that it's looking for that solidity of self, this solid, separate from this change, this unchanging thing that as an idea exists, but otherwise does not exist out in the world. And it is simply another illusion that we put a lot of belief and a lot of investment in, that we should start to have this awareness, realize, and come out. And so the third major part of the suffering that the Buddha talked about, after the suffering change, it goes, bear with me, I had it on the tip of my tongue, but I digressed. And that is that there is nothing, that conditioned existence is not free of suffering, and which is kind of what I was just speaking about, and wherever it goes, and because the fact that all things that are together right now will decay and come apart, and it might not be that in your lifetime, or it might be, but on the cosmic scale of things, like, we are just a blip here, the earth, everything about it, everything that's ever been here, everything that will be here before our sun swallows it back up is going to be but a quick little slice in the history of the long history of the universe that's ongoing, and whatever comes after that, and whether it's true that it's cyclic, whether you believe that or not. So acknowledging that not just suffering exists, and this definition that we could probably all say we know or thought we knew, we have to see it on this deeper level of how it affects everything, how it even affects the good moments, how it even affects some of the things we strive for. I used to do some weight training and different forms of athleticism, and anyone who's done any form of athleticism to moderate degree somewhat knows, once you're training a lot and you get really good, and however you placed, once you stop training, you're like, oh, it's gone. It's changing. I didn't just become at this peak and I was just Superman forever, or Son Goku or something. If you don't maintain it and keep it up, it goes away. And so we want to really try to cultivate the awareness on these subtler levels. And it's not to say you can't enjoy things. It's not to say you can't enjoy your life, especially as us lay people. The middle way is to help us just bring balance, though. And we could go as far down that, I'm not necessarily saying we all have to become monks and nuns in this life, but taking up that monastic lifestyle. But we can find that balance, and it's important for us to strive and find some balance here so that we suffer less. And eventually, as with the other noble truths, there's this cessation from suffering. Because nobody likes to suffer. Nobody wants to suffer, no beings want to suffer, and yet they are also suffering. We all suffer by having the conditions of a human body, right? Hunger, thirst, at the most basic level. We need shelter, warmth. We can't be exposed to the elements all night. We will likely pass away, right? Same with, animals and other beings. We need to eat every day. We have to go on. And so there's no full satisfactory just existence. We get these little pockets of rest and peace, hopefully, because some of us, we don't get that either and can't be afforded that, even though I believe we should. In my utopian sort of idealistic part of the world, that actually is not so hard to achieve. But that would be for another episode for sure. So recognizing dukkha, recognizing there is suffering, and that I'll also say lastly that people are suffering. Everyone we are encountering is experiencing some form of suffering. And so when they lash out and they are mean to us, or they are yelling at us, or they are, causing a big commotion in the community and causing problems and different things, we have to remember that these other people are suffering, and we have to then develop our compassion for them, as we also might need that grace someday when we're behaving badly, or we are reacting poorly, and we are, also acting out of our own suffering. But if we can remember too that everyone is suffering, and we can start to then be a little kinder, take a pause, take a breath, and you might get to the stage where you'd be like, wow, they are really suffering. They are really having a bad day. And it's not for us to solve, but to acknowledge that and to stay, what I like to say is like staying in the audience instead of becoming an actor I guess they say just actor these days. I don't know, there's a discrepancy about that. But anyway, instead of being another agent on the stage and engaged in the scene, because people will try to bait you, whether they realize it or not, into being in the scene with them as they're making a scene of something. And we have to remember, oh, they're suffering. and stay out here in the audience. And then we can, see it from different perspective, different eyes, and say, oh, what is it that hurt you? Why are you so hurt? What do you need to do? You need to be heard now? What is going on? And stay curious, and then find out if you can be effectively helpful. It's a wonderful gift and tool if we can stay in that awareness. And so next we will talk about the second noble truth. So I hope you come back and tune in. As always, if you've enjoyed this channel and find it helpful, you could feel free to give it a like, comment, subscribe, share it with a friend. It's not mandatory, but it does help the algorithm and help people to join us on the journey. But as always, I always tell you, it's no pressure. It's really I'm really just glad that you're here and we're doing this together and learning a little bit more as we try to walk this middle way of balance and of peace. So with that, I'll end with our favorite breath. Peace in and peace out. Thank you again, and tune in next week as we go through the Four Noble Truths. Thank you.